My name is Thaddeus Ryan Komorowski. My hometown is Abilene, Texas. A fun fact about Abilene, Texas is that I was really involved with sports, and there's a movie that came out a while ago called Friday Night Lights, and the famous coach in the movie was Coach Gary Gaines. And fast forward to the 90s, when the movie was set in the 70s originally, and fast forward to the 90s, he was my football coach at Abilene High. And I grew up there. I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and even college, which a lot of people think is not that great. But I think it's awesome because I knew lots of people. I was really familiar with Abilene, and so I think that's awesome. I definitely travel a lot, but I've always lived in the same town, which I thought was interesting. Um, my favorite hobbies definitely outdoors activities, pickleball, and ultimate frisbee and stuff like that. I was real involved with, I guess how I call them, organized sports when I was a young man in high school. And when I got into college, I wasn't on team anymore. So I got into individual sports like disc golf and stuff like that. Um, Also in college, I really got into something. I got into swing dancing, which is partner dancing, but it's more athletic kind of thing than just like waltz. And when I was a young man, like it was great to me because it was like, okay, I'm meeting girls and I'm getting to be social and I'm listening to music and this is awesome. And so I kind of gravitated to doing that more. And I got into a dance team, and then I was competing at an amateur level, which then allowed me to actually go to Norway, or I went to New York and Boston and different places when I was single, of course. And it was fun getting to meet other people and getting to compete and just going out to different musical venues afterwards and stuff like that. So it was really fun. Um, I guess a favorite book or favorite movie. Favorite book, definitely. Even before this class, they introduced Simon Sinek and the Start with Why series. His idea of the golden circle and everything was something that I had been privy to, or actually loved listening to, or reading, and just watching all of his. I think Simon Sinek is a great speaker. So I watch a lot of his videos on YouTube and everything like that. So it's awesome. Um, let's see. Also, yeah, my favorite movie. I actually saw Twister recently, and it made me realize there's something about kind of like the second version or the second remake, the second movie that I really love. So like there was a Twister that came out in like maybe the early 90s or something like that. I was alive. I think I was 12 or something like that. Maybe, yeah, 92 or something like that. I'm not sure exactly when it came out, but it was a while ago. And then the new one comes out, and it kind of references different things that maybe were talked about in the video, or different characters, something like that, which I think is really fun. And then I thought about Top Gun and then Maverick recently. Top Gun Maverick, I guess, in the second one. And so it was the same character, but he referenced some things he did and stuff like that. And like the whole volleyball scene was, but it was different because of the football scene. So you see those things and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, anyway, it's never references. And even like the Wolverine and Deadpool movie that recently came out, it wasn't like a movie that came out a long time ago, but still it references a lot of things that happened in Marvel, like all the Marvel movies, and even like pop culture, like it referenced Madonna and NSYNC and a lot of other people like Avril Lavigne and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I know that song. I was like really into NSYNC when I was that age or something like that. So it was really fun. I love that. Let's say nothing. I'm looking down probably, and that's what I'm looking at. Also, another interesting hobby, not a hobby, but just interesting thing about me, is that um, I built a 250 square foot tiny house that I lived in while I was single, of course. I lived in when I was single, and it saved me a lot of money. Like, I think it was $250 for all rent and all bills included, which is awesome. I was just saving all this money and doing what I wanted to when I was single. Um, but when I got married, or right before we got married, my wife spent one night in my tiny house, and she's like, "No, not doing this again," and so we sold it recently. So anyway, but how I got into digital learning? I started teaching in 2013, and from the get go, I was always teaching graphic design, which kind of is definitely it's along with my wheelhouse. And so I've always been a person that felt more okay with digital learning, or I mean doing digital things, right? So having technology or using technology. I know, like, being younger, I guess during this time period, I was like, okay, I'm just going to learn this technology and kind of learn how to use it correctly and stuff like that. And so I didn't have any kind of apprehensive to learning it or some of that. And so early, I was a young person, young man when I was starting to teach. And so I was just accustomed to just doing this and like incorporating technology. And so I was incorporating an LMS, which is like Google Classroom or Canvas, early on, like the first year, and before even my school was doing it. And so I was like, the kids like this. Why don't I incorporate some digital things in my classroom? And I was replacing someone that printing out everything in graphic design. And I was like, this is a big waste. Why not just have the kids create digital assignment and then you grade it in Canvas or whatever, and then you just give them the grade back digitally, all digitally, and so you don't have to print things out, which I think was an answer, and it made my life a lot easier when I was starting out. But see, I was able to see different, like the whole integration of technology and people getting personal devices and stuff like that. So just being aware of that stuff and then incorporating technology, I was selected as a digital learning coach in my district, kind of thing. But now I teach a technical school, like uh, a CTE center, basically. Is what I teach, kind of thing. And so I do that. So I'm still in the computer lab, which is awesome. It's kind of weird, actually, because I teach in a classroom that requires you to run programs. And Chromebooks are great. I mean, I think they're great, but for certain things. But a Chromebook will not run the software needed to do graphic design. So it's kind of like, okay, kids, let's put away your Chromebooks and get out and turn on your classroom, um, computers in the lab, kind of thing. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, so just having a kind of like experiencing kind of the integration, people coming one to one, and like the LMS things and actually stuff like that. So just being an interesting time when actually that's now all new and it becomes like a hindrance. Like now when people all have technology and access to personal devices that become a distraction. And actually, then also one passion of mine that I really kind of was doing before, at a small level, before this master's class kind of made me more like, okay, this is definitely what I'm doing. Um, I think a portfolio is a really great thing, all different levels for all different levels of education. I think they're a lot better than actually trying to just memorize facts and then take a test over it and say like, okay, now you learned what you need to do. I really don't think that's a really great way to actually assess people of their learning, kind of thing. So we in real life we're saying like, okay, now fix this tire. You're not gonna give them a test and say like, okay, the tire's fixed. You're gonna let them do it, right? And so I think a portfolio is a really good way to actually document all that stuff. Like elementary, they use Seesaw, and then like middle school, high school, or like early high school, they use like Google Sites, which is actually just a little step up there. And then like when they get into like sophomore, junior, senior kind of thing. Then they start building an actual website kind of thing, which kind of grows with the students and shows a lot more learning. It shows like their documentation of the learning. They can reevaluate reevaluate where they are and kind of thing. Um, Say like they're in ninth grade and they move to 10th grade, or like say they're in third grade and fourth grade, and the fourth grade teacher can look back at when he was actually in third grade and see if he was behind, see if he needs a little more instruction, kind of thing. So catch him up, kind of thing. Um, so that's kind of my passion. It's just creating a portfolio for all learning. So I think it'll be an answer to a lot of things. Um, that's it. Thanks for listening.